Thank you for joining with us today to this webinar. I start talking slowly because I would like to everybody to have time to join the webinar. We have received a lot of registration, so I think that we need some few seconds to allow everybody to join the webinar. In the meantime, I would like to introduce my colleague Sofia Valigi and also my colleague Kamal Hakim. Sofia Valigi is a moment part of the team in Europe, and but he will join soon the team in US. And Hakim is an American citizen, and at the moment is in Italy, but he talks a lot with and work a lot with the US team. Okay, today we talk about the setting up and the managing of a subsidiary in the US. First of all, I would like to introduce our company. GenuineSA is a US company that whose mission is to support European business in establishing a stable presence in the United States. Later, I will explain you what do we mean for stable presence. We are a team of more than 20 people. Most of the people are in the US, and in our previous experience, professional experience, we have worked a lot as in multinational company or as entrepreneur. We founded this company almost 20 years ago, and we work in many industries. As you can see in our website, we have a customer that belongs to many industries. We have a double presence in Europe and in US. In Europe, we meet and talk face to face with the top management of the company, and we agree with them about the strategies and activities that has to be done in the US. In the US, my colleague have the role to implement a lot of all the operational activities that has been decided in Europe. Why a lot of companies decide to join to accept our office? First of all, because we have a focus on this market. We don't work. We don't provide business in all over the world. We provide business only in the US. We have a deep knowledge in this market, and only 2 years ago, we are trying to duplicate our business and to offer the same offer in Saudi Arabia and Emirates. So, but we have a big knowledge of this market, and also as we have a lot of know-how and a lot of knowledge of this market. Of course, we know. We have a lot of knowledge, and it means that we help companies to reduce the time and the cost to get into the US market. And last but not least is we are one-stop source company. It means that we can provide a lot of services that are needed when a company want to be in the US or that are already in the US. Most of the services are provided internally, and some of them as some specific services as a certification and other services are provided through our network of partners in the US. I would like to point out that our target are small and medium enterprises that want to enter in the US, but also the target are companies that are already in the US, and they need a further support from a company that's talk also that is between the headquarter and the subsidiary. What are our services? Our services are above all consulting services. We provide market analysis and feasibility plans that they are very important because they allow the top management to decide and to understand if the US market is feasible, and they can understand what are the risks and the investment and activities and the plans that has to be done to enter in this market. It is they are very important to support this decision on what to do. Of course, we support companies in getting the visa to transfer employees from the headquarters to the US. We provide legal and tax and consulting, and of course, we look for local incentives in the US that usually are provided from states and counties. Also, we do some business development for our services, our companies. We try to get in touch with the potential customer and distributors, but above all, we support companies in selling through the online platforms. One core business is the management of the subsidiaries in the US. We, of course, when we provide, we can form corporation in the US for companies that for European companies, and we provide order management and logistic and administration services to the subsidiaries that are formed in the US. Also, what we can do is the headhunting. So we look for people, for employees in the US that can be hired by the subsidiaries of the companies. And when it is needed, we look for warehouse in the US where products can be stocked. Also, what we do is what we provide are merger and acquisition services. We scout for, we look for small companies that can be purchased in the US also, and we provide project management when it is needed, an integration from these two companies. And also we support companies when they want to start the plant from scratch in the US, and in this case we provide site selection in the US. Approaching the market, the US market is very important to plan and focus. Above all, it is very, very important to plan all the activities since the beginning of the introduction in the US. It is very important because the US market is very expensive, is aggressive, there is a lot of competition, and it is needed a lot of time to get results. And so it is very important to give time to yourself, to the top management, to get the results in the US when some investment are done. Of course, there are a lot of ways to sell in the US. You can sell from from Europe, directly from Europe, or through distributors, or you can set up a branch over there with a representative office. But from our experience, we can say that only having a subsidiary, a corporation over there with some product stocked in the US and some local employees in the US, you can have a continuous flow of sales. Of course, another way to be in the US is to make a joint venture with the local partner. And of course, if it is possible, the best way is to produce or there through a company that you can buy or a plant that you can implement from scratch. What does it mean to have a stable presence in the US? First of all, it is very important to have a legal entity in the US. We suggest always to form a corporation over there. Also because the cost, we will see later, the cost of formation is very easy, the cost is very low, and it is very easy, and you can form directly from Europe without flying in the US. It is very important to have products or spare parts in the US can be delivered in small quantities in very short time. It is very important to have a local staff, sorry, direct employees, not agents, that they are employees that are focused on the activities of the company. And it is very important to provide post-sales activities through technician or other kind of post-sales or that kind of customer service. Also, it is very important to have a local bank account through. It is very important to invoice in dollar to receive checks for payments. Having a local entity, legal entity, you can set up agreements according to local regulation. It is very appreciated from potential customer. And of course, all the products and the services has to be compliant with the local certification. What does it mean opening a local company? We suggest all the time to open a corporation that is a limited company. The cost of the formation is very low. A few weeks to form and few thousand of euros to, of course, included tax and so on. There is no need. There is no minimum share capital needed. And also, when you have to form the corporation, the shareholder has not to be an American citizen or a US company, and also the officers. There is no need to be resident in the US. Also, the bureaucracy is very low. So there is no requirement to file a financial statement as in Europe, and there is no VAT books to do because the VAT doesn't exist. It exists only the sales tax, but it is applied only to the final customer. And there is the confidentiality of the shareholders. Now there is the Corporate Transparency Act, so there is it is mandatory to show who are the shareholder only to the IRS for safety reasons, but it is still a confidentiality information. In this way, the European company get credibility and reliability. Having a subsidiary in US make the European company makes the European companies to be seen as American and reassures the counterpart that the business relationship is governed by the US law. Also, the risk of the corporation is limited to the share capital, and it is very important, preventing the European parent company being financially responsible. And it is possible to buy an insurance for product liability through an American company, and of course, you can have a US bank account for daily operation. Just a moment, I'll try to do. Also, when you form a company, the headquarters, the legal address can be everywhere. Change only a little bit on because you can have the legal address everywhere in the US, and also you can operate in any other states in the US. So the local presence of the address, the legal address of is not really important. What is important is where are your employees, where are your products. The taxation, at the moment, the taxation in the US is divided in three mainstream. 21% is on federal basis. On state basis, the taxes are between 0 and 11%. And also there are some state taxes based on the counties, but they affect only a company that has a plant over there or an inventor. Also, the legal and tax compliances. It is mandatory to maintain to have the accounting of the records, to renew the federal, to pay the taxes for corporation before, to pay the corporate taxes before the April 15 of each year, and it is mandatory to renew the annual report and the register agent every year. In some states is every 2 years, depending on the states. Okay, when a corporation is done, of course, has to be managed, and some activities and some administration and customer service activities are needed, because of course, if you have done if you have formed a corporation, you have done for the reason that is to sell. When you sell, you need administration and you need a customer service in the US. And what we can provide for this company is to host the subsidiary in our office, so the European company doesn't need their own offices, and we provide employees that can perform for you the daily activities as administration, accounting, customer service, or the processing, and whatever is needed, and logistics services. So in this way, the company can focus on the business development or the production of the products. So there is no need of local personnel for administration in the US, and and there is no need for all this. Please, Sophia, proceed describing these services that would be very, very useful for new
Yes.
companies.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. In the next 3 slides, I will try to give you a more detailed idea of what it actually means for us to host your branch in the US. So when you will approach the US market and you will try to have a stable presence in the US, you will realize that managing that from Europe can become very difficult. First of all, of course, the time zone, because you will have at least a 6-hour time difference, and it can create problems when it comes to managing American customers, because being responsive in the US is very important. And you will realize that once you start selling and they require customer service and post-sale support. Then, of course, also language can be a problem. Language in terms of culture, not only, speaking English, because, of course, if you have a company and you already export to Europe, of course, you can speak English, but we are talking about more, more in terms of culture. In fact, most of the time we might think that the US are very similar in terms of culture, but that's not true. They have their own, especially when it comes to customer service, they have their own expectations and their standards. So we will help you with that as well, because of course it can be difficult to deal with all these aspects. So what we do is give you one point of contact that will manage all those aspects. And of course, we will provide you all the services in terms of back office, which means customer service, operations, accounting, and administration. Because of course, you will see that you will have, as you approach the market and you start selling, you will see that many actors will try to contact you. So as mentioned before, dealing with all those aspects from Europe is difficult. Also because having a warehouse and having your products stocked in the US is very important. And also, as Mauro was mentioning, having salespeople will be very important for you to develop the business. So what we try to do with this service, with this end-to-end service, is to give you the possibility to focus on sales, and we will take care of the rest. Mauro, if you could go to the next slide. So first of all, I would try to explain a little bit better what we mean by customer service. So it's not only dealing with your customers in US. From taking care of orders and pure customer service, which means answering to a phone number only for you, and also if your customers have questions regarding your products or pricing or whatever is related to pure customer service, we will take care of that. But also, as we mentioned, you will have your products stocked in US, which means most likely at the beginning having to deal with a third-party warehouse. So we will help you with that as well. So we will take care of the communication with the warehouse to make sure that your products are shipped correctly, and we will manage all the logistics aspects so that by the time we receive the order by your customers, then we will make sure that they receive the products, and then they won't have any issues with that. So we will coordinate everything from receiving the order to the fact that the customer actually receives the products. Also, when you will start, planning how to structure your sales in the US, you might want to hire someone focused on sales. So we will have a dialogue with your people there to make sure that all the sales processes are aligned with what you want from with what the European headquarter expects, and we will act as a point of contact with Europe and your team in the US, so that everything runs smoothly on a day-to-day basis. So our purposes are mainly, of course, to from a point of view of customer service, is to make your customers happy. But from the operations point of view, we want to help you with day-to-day activities and help your sales team focus on sales. And of course, we don't want you to, let's say, lose control on what's happening in the US. So we will act as a point of reference and contact for you to get information, correct information on what's actually happening in the US. And of course, last but not the least, we solve problems for you. Of course, when, as I was mentioning, when you create your branch in the US, it's not easy to manage everything from Europe. And, problems when it comes to orders, logistics, managing, different people, different actors as warehouses, logistics, salespeople, is not, easy to do that from Italy. So we will help you dealing with everything and every kind of problems that might come up while you start selling in the US. Then, Mauro, if you could go to the next slide. In terms of back office, once you create your company in the US, you will start selling and, of course, invoicing to your customers. So what we do from this point of view is basically record everything that you do. So we take care of invoicing to your customers, registering bills from vendors, every payment and credits, and we also make sure that every business requirements in terms of accounting is taken care of. And once we've collected all those data in our softwares, then we reconcile payments and receipts, and we update inventory records so that we make sure that everything is recorded correctly and based, of course, on what you would like to see from our data. Because another important role that we will have in terms of accounting and administration is that we will have a constant dialogue on what you expect to see from the data in the US and the level of control you want to have. And of course, we will then take care of all the monthly closures and prepare full year financial statements so that you will also be compliant in terms of taxes and US requirements. Because of course we have the competencies to help you with all those aspects as well. Because they're also in some aspects are very different from Europe. So you want to be sure that you follow, all the rules, and we can provide, all those support in terms of, requirements and taxes and accounting. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Sofia. So as you understand that this service is very helpful for companies that start their business in the US and then want to have their own subsidiary, they can sell that have for companies that want to have a legal entity and a warehouse with products in the US. but doesn't want to have the doesn't want to have employees only for administration and logistic customer service. So we can handle all this operation for you. Of course, in our team in the US is each person in the US or our team can follow more than one company, and we provide you the team as a part-time, so you can reduce, of course, the cost for these services. And above all, with these services, you can focus on sales and on the core activity of the company. Also, we provide also, that is important, the management of all the payroll, health insurance and 401k for the employees that are hired from the subsidiary company in the US. It is a very important service that we provide. And also, we can pay sales tax for you, of course, when it is required. Okay, let's talk about now regarding another aspect of having a subsidiary in US. Usually, when you have a subsidiary, you need to have personnel. You need to have employees in the US, and sometimes it's better to hire locally, and sometimes it's better to transfer people from headquarters to the US. Of course, just a moment. Sorry, this is my fault. Of course, there are some pros and cons in both the situation. To transfer people from US, from Europe to the US, you need to get a visa, and the visa it is not an easy process. Sometimes it's very hard to get a visa for the person. There are only 3 visas: L1, E1, and E2, and H1B. Available to that I can say that are suitable for transfer people from Europe to the US. But sometimes when you transfer people from the headquarters, it's better if you want to transfer the culture of the company in the US, and this is very important. And also when it is important to transfer people in the US when you need a constant interaction with the parent company in the US. This is, for example, when it's better to talk about numbers, and it is better to transfer people to manage directly the company. Usually, but it's not always true, there is a lower cost when you transfer you transfer people from Europe to the US, but sometimes is not sorry. Sometimes it's not true, because of course you have to pay for the relocation. Sorry. Okay. And these people, when you, I don't know what's happening. Sometime, okay. Sometime sorry. Okay. It is my son that is trying to reach me in any case. Okay, and sometimes and the personal is tied to the sorry, I don't know what to do with this. Okay. And of course, the person is tied to the company with a visa. They cannot go to work with another company in the US. Of course, when you move people from Italy to from Europe to the US, there is a timing for adaptation for them that can be also that cost some money. When it is better to hire locally when, for example, when you have to salespeople has to be locally and for the production. And of course, it accelerates the startup time of the subsidiary. And usually they are plug and play personnel. Of course, to recruit people in US is not easy because now the unemployment rate is 3-4% is very low. So to hire people locally, the people is very high, and also the cost of people of there is very high. There is a lot of job hopping, no loyalty, no company culture, no connection with the parent company, and there are sometimes some very big difference in regarding the business culture from between Europe and US. I think Kamal, is your turn now, please. In the meantime, I try to set up my
thank you, Mauro, and thank you, Sophia. Mauro, can you go back one slide? I think we jumped over one. Yes, okay. Perfect segue into this. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kamal, and I'm a project manager and recruiting specialist at GenUSA. And for the past 2.5 years, I've been working out of the European office here in Italy, in Milan. And over this time, we've helped, say, 12 companies to hire people in the US. And with this experience, I'd like to share with you some differences that I've noticed between the company. Sorry, back one more. Yes, thank you. The differences in culture between the European companies and their subsidiaries in the US, and the best practices to bridge the gaps. So first things first, as Mauro said, in the US, work is a status of social identification. So you are your work. There is a very big culture around, you know, that I am a lawyer, I am an accountant, I am this, and that they, let's say they take it as their identity. Additionally, there is an equal opportunity for everybody. Discrimination is against the law. There are very strict rules when it comes to hiring people. There are some questions that you can absolutely not ask in interviews. And this is to create an equal and level playing field for everybody. Individualism, strong competitiveness among colleagues is really strong there. Another difference is the casual hierarchy within companies. So it's very common in the US companies to speak in a informal way, as opposed to in some countries in Europe, specifically in Italy, where there's a formal level of speaking, which is something that caught me off guard, frankly, when I first came over here, just to see how other companies work throughout the world. One other thing is about punctuality. Americans in general value punctuality, not being late, responding to emails within 24 hours. In addition to that, there's I would say, a lack of attachment to one company. So the individual, the employee, is more regarded as a worker, as an employee judged on their work, and rather than as part of a group culture within the company. So you see a lot of times people move around every 2 or 3 years. There's less loyalty than there is in many other European counterparts. Mauro, please, next slide. Okay, so once you've made a decision, if you're going to hire someone locally in the US, as opposed to transferring someone from your European company, what we do is to try to find the best person for the job that you need to be filled. Headhunting is the general term, what we call it. It's a specialized recruitment service, and it reduces the risk of hiring the wrong person. So why would you look to us rather than just a simple headhunting company located in the USA? It's mainly for these cultural reasons that Mauro touched on previously and I talked about in the last slide. It's because we have the experience working with the European companies, understanding the work culture in Europe and having the relationships with the European heads of the companies and to find exactly what they're looking for in the US to bridge the gap, providing some of the training, providing some of the cultural awareness that is required to have a smooth and successful operation. Specifically, headhunting is a service that requires a specialization by sector. And as we are working with a variety of companies, we've built up quite a large database that we are able to call to for references. Everybody that we find is referenced, is scouted, is really before we present them to our client, we do a big, let's say, behind the scenes review of every single individual. It's really important. I stress it again. Whenever a European company wants to hire someone locally in the US, it's really important for the culture, for the employee in the US to understand that they're working for, let's say, even though it is a US subsidiary, the main company, the parent company, the one that they'll be working with on a usual basis is European. So there's a difference in culture there. At the same time, for the European company to understand that the way to approach an American employee is, let's say, a little bit more structured, much more direct rather than opaque. Mauro, please, next slide. So in these next few slides, I'm going to go over the process of what we do. If, let's say, you come to us and say, hey, guys, I need a sales director for my subsidiary in New York. I'll explain to you what is that process. And it's important to have an effective recruiting process because it's a constant flow. As I said before, people leave every couple of years. So you need to always have feelers out there. You need to always be one step ahead to see, okay, if this person leaves, I have a plan B. Always be able to accept applications, always kind of have, the next step ahead of you. So Mauro, one more slide, please. Okay, so in the beginning, what we need to do is you come to us and you say, hey, we need sales director. What we'll do is we'll talk to you to understand exactly what the role is. We will start by creating a comprehensive job description. We will ask you, what are the key responsibilities for the job? What are the qualifications? For example, do they need a bachelor's degree, a master's degree? Perhaps they need to be a CPA, whatever is needed for the job. And this clarity is important in helping us to target the right candidates and to set clear expectations. Clear expectations because, in general, and I'm generalizing here, in the US, the average salary is much higher than in Europe. To give you an example, in the US, compared to Italy, it could be double or triple the average yearly salary as it is here in Italy. So being able to explain that upfront to say, okay, a sales director in New York with this experience will cost anywhere between X and X, so that at the end of the recruitment process, there's no surprises. The second step is by identifying the ideal candidate. So after we put down into words what the candidate requirements are, we want to understand what the soft skills that are required. For example, if it's a small company and this sales director is not going to be managing anybody, it's just one person managing the whole operations, they need to have a different skill set, more of an entrepreneurial skill set because they're going to be independent. Versus if this person is going to be there being managed by somebody and having to manage other people, they need to have a different kind of set of soft skills, which is something that as an American, let's say I can put out a little bit more feelers rather than just see on a resume what their background is. Next is the importance of employer branding. This is something, everything I keep saying is important, but especially this one, because in the United States, if you are a company here that's popular in Europe, you have a great product. Nobody denies that. But in the United States, perhaps your brand is not known, it's not recognized. So what could happen is when we make phone calls to these potential candidates, they might say, "Oh, who is? Wait, I've never heard of this company before. Why would I switch my job from a well-known American company? I'm making a good salary. Why would I go to you?" And so what we've seen is a lot of times these candidates push back, and it's like, "Well, you're calling me, so please tell me who you are." And sometimes it causes friction because the companies here that we're working for, think they're well known, they have a great product, and again, they do, but they have to realize that in the United States, it's more of a startup culture. Mauro, please, the next slide. The recruitment strategies. So once we've defined everything of what we want, next we need to actually find the people. What we do is, besides having a database that we've built up over the years, which we constantly add to and we constantly try to find new people, we utilize the online platforms. So LinkedIn, Monster. What we don't do is do job postings because two reasons. The first one, we get people from all ends of the spectrum that don't even read the job description. For example, the other day, I was watching a YouTube video and I saw someone posted a job for a specific role, and they got people that coming, from India or from Africa. But in reality, you need someone in the United States who actually has read the job description and needs to be that quality. So we go out there and we scout for these people. So we spend hours and hours every day going through the social databases to find the right person before we contact them. Next thing is employee referrals. So if you have let's say already a company established in the United States, you can put out feelers from them and give them perhaps a bonus or ask them if they know other people, and then from there, spread out the network. Another thing is by networking in industry events. So in the US, similar to here in Europe, I think in Europe it's more common, but the trade shows are super important. I know here being in Italy, we go to several trade shows every single month. And by attending trade shows, meeting salespeople, meeting sales directors, adding them on LinkedIn, getting their email contact, building those networks, face-to-face communication is still key, even though in this COVID world, everything has moved online. And in fact, in the US, it moved online even before over here in Europe. So remote working from home was popular there 10 or 15 years ago before it even was, took off here after the COVID. Mauro, next slide, please. Okay, so let's say we have found the right person for you. We send you their profile, you like what you see, and now we have to present them to you in person to do an interview. Effective interview techniques includes a combination of behavioral and situational questions. What I don't like to do is ask them like the basic stuff. Oh, please explain to me X. I want to ask them questions that you can see the way that they think, because you can teach anybody anything if they want to learn it, but you can't teach someone if they think they already know it. So you need to find someone that balances the hard skills that you need with the soft skills to be able to learn more hard skills. Incorporating practical assessment is a great thing, or task relevance to the job, sending them to the job site. If you're trying to hire someone for a factory, send them to the factory for a day just to shadow the manager there, and that way you can kind of gauge what kind of questions that they will ask, how you respond to them. One other thing that to add on what I said earlier is many times these people will be questioning you and your company, saying, "Is this a legitimate company? Why would I work for you if you're not well known here?" So when the interview takes place with the people in Europe online or even in person, there needs to be an equal level of respect on both sides and an expectation that the person being interviewed will ask the company questions, just like the company is supposed to ask questions to the interviewee. So it's a much more level playing field. As Mauro said before, the unemployment rate is 3%, 4% in some parts, which means everybody who's good and who wants a job already has one. So you're really fighting to take people that already have jobs. Once it's time to make a decision, you need to weigh all the factors we talked about, from the resume to the interview to the references and background checks. And we have really advanced software that we can pull out background checks within 24 hours to see if this person is who they say they are. And then the final thing for a successful recruitment process is the onboarding, meaning the cultural aspect of it. We've had times where we hire people, they're great for the job, they are wonderful, they last, a couple of years perhaps, but in the exit interview, we say, what's been the biggest challenge, and most of the time it's about mismatch of culture. So we need to be able to develop a structured onboarding program, which includes some kind of cultural learning, teaching on both sides, and say, okay, this person reacts better to feedback that's given, let's say, in a more structured way than feedback given. One example. And so a positive onboarding experience and a positive working relationship leads to long-term success in the recruitment process. Thank you all. And now I pass it back to Mauro.
Thank you, Kamal. We can say that when we hire, European company try to hire a US citizen in US to work for their subsidiary in US, is very important to understand, to take care to take care of the cultural difference a bit of the business. It is very important to understand if the guy in the US is able to work in a multicultural environment, and above all, US citizens are usually used to work for a US company, and a European company are completely different, and they expect different stuff. So that's it is very important to understand if this guy is able to understand and to fit in this environment. But when you are people, it is possible to hire and pay and to have them with a payroll, and paid with a fixed salary or hourly, and usually they work for you only for your company, but also you can hire them as an independent contractor and are paid on basis and project basis. Usually, when there are a lot of benefits when you hire people with and they are on your payroll, what is absolutely needed to be competitive with the other companies is it is important to offer them health insurance for them and for their family, and the retirement plan, because if you want to have to be competitive, otherwise it's very hard to look for people. For these two benefits are not mandatory, but it's very it's important to offer them, and above all for white collar and for management. So this is very and what I can say from our experience, the contract we suggest to make a written contract. It's not mandatory. The contract usually are at will, and it's not mandatory to have a written contract, but is we suggest to do that. And we suggest also to draft the agreement through a local lawyer, because some regulation can change from state to state. This is very important. And from our experience, is very you can when you start your search and you find some people do not wait a lot of days before making a proposal, because if you find somebody that could be can fit for your company, please make an offer in few days and ask them to accept immediately. Otherwise, of course, they can be they are looking for another job, and they are sure that they can find another job in a few days. So my experience that when you find somebody, be very quick in making an offer, and be very fast. And usually the termination period is 15 days. So the agreement at will. So it means when they both agree to work together, employees, it is fine. They can terminate. The agreement can be terminated at any time with a 15 days previous notice, but be very careful when you fire somebody, because it is very common that the fired employees will go to the lawyer and will ask you some more money for discrimination or whatever. So be very careful in that phase. Unfortunately, the time is running, so I would like to talk a lot about other issues about temporary management, and above all visa. I don't know where is the slide of visa, but unfortunately we don't have time. If you have any question, please use the chat box to do that, or please send us an email. These are our contacts, contact details. Call us at this number. We have an office in New York, Miami, Delaware, Los Angeles, and Milano, and or email us at any time, and I'm sure that we will answer you back in 24 hours. We work also during Christmas time. Is okay for you, guys, to work? Okay. Yeah, we are me and Sophia are Italian, so we are not used to work on Christmas time, but now with working with the US we have. So of course we stop the 25th and 26th, but the 27th we are back working for you. Thank you a lot for watching this webinar. This is a live webinar. I'm sure that I hope that we have provided useful information, and for sure we will replicate this webinar in 2024. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sophia, and thank you, Kamal.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.